because we're looking at, I want to show you the glucose level. So it doubled the glucose in the diet, and you can see that reflects the circulating glucose concentration is much, much higher. And you can see the peaks are much, much broader, reflecting our breakfast. The breakfast was actually much, much greater. And some of the glucose levels actually don't go back to baseline again. You can see that actually there's in the simulation, it goes back to baseline after lunch meal and after the evening meal. We can talk about that in a second. So the next thing we've got to do is reduce the calories to 450. So that's like a ketogenic diet. Let me go back to this one here, 450. Here we go, 450. And just go to the glucose summary. Day one. So half the concentration as 900 calories. And I'll do it 3 times like before. And if you're aware, you can actually see the glucose in millimoles here changing. So this is a bit strange, otherwise it's a bit strange looking. So 4.5 millimoles, so that's about right. Let me just get a second if I've done this right. Have I done this right? Yeah, that's right, 450. That's okay. Then I'll do one more. Go. Next day. So that's sleep. So the glucose level is actually falling quite considerably. Because of lack of glucose in the diet. Of course, those of you who have done the Atkins diet will hopefully recognise that your brain can continue to function in low glucose because of you actually start to use fats and generate ketones in order to sustain your brain metabolism. Now, if we just look at so 900, 1,000, whatever it was, 1,800 and 450. See quite different looking profiles of carbohydrate. And we look at the glucose, the insulin summary. You can see the insulin levels are much greater with the high carbohydrate, and insulin secretion is very low when there's low carbohydrate. And that's really, if we go back to this slide here, we can see that. Let me just go here. What's the relationship between glucose concentration and insulin concentration? And so insulin concentration, which one of these is true? Is that does insulin concentration increase as the glucose concentration increase? Does insulin concentration decrease as insulin concentration decreases? Or is the insulin concentration is unaffected by changes in glucose concentration? Clearly, well, hopefully clearly for you, is that the insulin concentration increases as glucose concentration increases, and that reflects the underlying biology of insulin versus glucose. What effect does increasing carbohydrate intake have on the amplitude and duration of the changes in blood glucose concentration after meal. So after meals is this part here, or this part here, and so what effect does increasing carbohydrate intake have on the amplitude and duration of the changes in blood glucose concentration? And so after a meal, there's an increase in the peak glucose concentration and duration. What effect does increasing carbohydrate intake have on blood glucose concentration between meals? Well, between meals, increasing the carbohydrate concentration between meals, which is, I think, during the sleep, there's if you draw a line across here, it probably has not much effect on blood glucose concentration between meals. And if we look at the mechanism by which this is, so all these, we don't expect you to remember the absolute details of these changes, okay? So that is not important. The important part is this part here. This is the part of the workshop that you should be learning, because it also supports the learning of insulin and the lecture material on hormones. So glucose is a regulatory feedback mechanism, and so what's happening is you increase the carbohydrate intake. That leads to an increase in the plasma glucose concentration. That increases the stimulation of the pancreatic beta cells to increase this insulin secretion, and that insulin secretion results in an increase in glucose uptake into the liver and the muscle, and it's subject to a negative feedback loop, which is what this bit here is supposed to represent. And as the glucose goes up, as the glucose uptake into the liver and muscle goes up, there's a decrease in the plasma glucose concentration, and that results in a decrease in the stimulation of the pancreatic beta cells, and subsequently a decrease in insulin secretion. So basically, it goes back to normal again. And so that's that. So that's the norm. That is the usual normal regulatory feedback. But when the glucose concentrations are really, really high, like here, for example, in the high carbohydrate meal, sometimes the amount of insulin being secreted over that time frame is insufficient to completely reduce the levels of glucose back to normal, and so you end up having an excess. You have insulin being secreted over long periods of time, so insulin levels actually don't go back to normal between breakfast and lunch, and that's not good. The reason that's not good is that insulin is an agonist, and agonist molecules can actually cause a reduction in the numbers of receptors. And people who eat very, very large meals effectively can become what's called insulin resistant. That's because the number of insulin receptors that are expressed on the surface of cells actually decreases, and therefore their ability to absorb or ability to transport insulin into muscle cells, into nerves, and into other organs is decreased, and that can have a negative effect on normal physiology. So it's important that insulin it's important that, especially in the West and increasingly in China, that people regulate their diet so that the diet doesn't result in them becoming insulin resistant. So that's why. So there's an increasing awareness of actually not snacking between meals, and that means that's so that your insulin levels can fall back to normal, and you're not overstimulating the insulin receptors, and that you're careful with your diet throughout the day, and so exercise, etc., is an important part of that, because exercise forces your body to actually use glucose, and therefore and ensures that you're not actually storing the excess glucose in the form of fat. So that's the glucose part. And what we're going to go on and do next is we're going to look at the effect of dietary salt intake on urinary sodium levels. So I'm going to load these part into it, which is a little bit more complicated. So I'll need to split my screen a little bit up a little bit. I don't want that. I picked up the wrong one. There we go. Go away, for goodness sakes. That's the one I want. Let me measure here. So now what I'm going to do is, like I said, the absolute details of the graphs are not the important part. It's just, hopefully, if you do stuff, like I said, you can learn stuff. So we'll do this here. Physiology. Oh, come on. Let me just restart this thing because I don't want cell protein. Restart. And we'll go file, load initial settings again so I can get rid of this. Open, that's it. I want physiology, nephrons, and urine. Where is it? Urine? There's it. I want physiology, electrolyte, sodium, physiology, electrolyte, sodium. And I want physiology, hormones, aldosterone, and physiology, and water, movement, or water, movement, and dietary intake, and then lifestyle, diet, and then go. That's the one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the simulation for 4 days, and then observe the effect of 180 and this normal sodium. So physiology. Go day 1. I do 4 days or 3 days. It doesn't actually matter. I'll just do 3 days. Let me find my graph that you can look at. Otherwise, it's a bit dull. So that's aldosterone, sodium concentration. Yeah, let's look at water excretion. Just to have a look at it, just so we can something to look at. Go another day, and then after we've done this, we're going to then change the sodium concentration we're going to increase it, then we're going to decrease it. You get quite complicated looking charts, but don't worry about it. Like I said, the absolute details of the charts are not important. No. Another day. I'm not too sure what this here is because that's quite strange looking. I'm going to restart it. Yeah, I'm going to go physiology. I'm going to go and day 1 again. That's better. Actually, I'm still seeing this strange looking thing here. day. Day 2. Come on. It's a bit slow. Holiday. Go one more day. So I'm going to ignore this part of the simulation because there's something a bit strange there. I'm not really concerned about it. So we'll then go down, we'll reduce the, increase the sodium concentration to 280 millimolar. Let me get that. There's 280. Oh, 280 and 300 millimolar. Oh, a bit too quick. There we are. And then let's go to there. Go. Another day. I'll do it on 3 days. One day. One day. And go one more day. One, two, three. Okay, I'll just go one day again, just for the hell of it, just to make it look a bit better. Okay, and then we'll then reduce the sodium concentration to 80 millimolar. If you were interested in doing the maths, you could actually work out how many grams of sodium that's likely to be in your diet, and you could actually see. You could then look at that and think, oh, I wonder how much sodium I'm taking in my diet. Okay, let me get back to this one here. So I'm going to get down to 80 millimolar and 100 of the chloride. Okay, and then let's go back to this. Don't care about insulin, so I'm not interested in that just yet. Go one day. So this is a low sodium. That's it. That's it. Okay. Oh, did I? Oh, another one. Go D1. Okay, almost there. Like I said, the graphs are quite complicated looking, but that's just the nature of the physiology accompanying the simulation. If you look at the bottom part, you actually you can see a little bit of a trend. Let's go again, another day. So this is the sodium concentration. So high sodium, the sodium concentration increases, and with low sodium, the sodium concentration decreases. So that's what you might expect. This is the excretion rate. So the excretion, so we have, if you compare everything with this one, like our control, with the high sodium, you have excess sodium in your diet, so you excrete more of it. And then as you got low sodium in your diet, you excrete less of it. And so that then the kind of interesting thing is, I'll show you this in a second, once the simulation stops. Almost there. Okay, so this is the high sodium part of the graph, and you can see that because we got high sodium, we excrete. We have to get rid of the high sodium. So we get rid of the high sodium because sodium carried in the water. We actually our amount of water we excrete actually increases. So high sodium actually makes us actually lose more water, and you can see here. If you ignore these, some of the intermediate steps are a little bit strange, like that there and that there is a bit strange. But if you look at the end part of it, you can see when you get very low sodium, because you're not really needing to excrete a lot of the water, you end up losing less water because you're not really needing to get rid of the sodium as part of your way of actually regulating the amount of sodium you have in your plasma. And if you look at, so this is the kind of circulating concentration of sodium, which is just this part here. So what effect does increasing sodium intake have on blood sodium concentration? Not very much. See that? The blood sodium concentration really doesn't change very much. And that's really because your body has a capacity to regulate the amount of sodium in the circulation, because excess sodium would increase blood pressure, increases osmotic strength, and so in a healthy person, moving away from that particular set point actually then results in a homeostatic mechanism to regulate amount of sodium. So the excretion of the sodium in the urine accounts for the fact that the high sodium concentration doesn't really affect blood glucose levels or blood sodium levels hugely. But you can see that here is when you have low sodium, your capacity to take up sodium in your diet is not great enough. You don't have a store of sodium, so all the sodium comes in your diet. So therefore, if over time, as you reduce the amount of sodium in your diet, the amount of sodium in your blood actually will start to decrease. So that would actually reduce the osmotic strength of your blood. And if you look at aldosterone, it says aldosterone, and we can see here that similar sort of graph. So what is aldosterone? So aldosterone is a circulating hormone. Aldosterone responds to changes in sodium concentration, and where aldosterone helps to promote the reabsorption of sodium from the distal convoluted tubule, and as a consequence, when you've got, if you compare normal to high, when you get high sodium in your diet, you don't really need the aldosterone to trigger the reabsorption of sodium, so the aldosterone levels go down. And when you have low sodium in your diet, there's a demand to reabsorb sodium, so therefore the levels of aldosterone increase as a consequence of that. And what effect is, we discussed this earlier on, what effect does increasing sodium intake have on kidney sodium excretion? So the sodium excretion actually increases because of the increase in the amount of sodium in your diet, and we also lose more water as a consequence as well. And this part here, let me just enlarge this part. Hopefully you're still with me. Are you still with me? Yes?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
For you.
Yes.
That's good to hear. So this is the sodium regulatory feedback loop. This is the one that's really complicated, and it incorporates incorporates the kidney and a number of hormones, and so if you have an increase in sodium intake, so the thing about all these feedback loops is that they're always responding to some sort of change in set point, and so the set, in this case, in these examples, the set point has increased, but the set point could actually decrease it. And so once you know, you're going in one direction, you know it for the other direction. So if you get an increase in sodium in your diet, that results in an increase in plasma sodium concentration, and that increase in plasma sodium concentration is detected by the specialist cells in the kidney called the macula densa, and that's part of that juxtaglomerular apparatus that we saw in one of the earlier lectures. That means the filtrate of the plasma going into the nephron, the sodium concentration is higher than a particular set point. That results in a decrease in the kidney juxtaglomerular cellular activity, and that results in a decrease in renin secretion. That results in a decrease in the plasma angiotensin II secretion. That results in a decrease in the adrenal cortex stimulation, and that results in a decrease in the plasma aldosterone levels. And therefore, because of that decrease in the plasma aldosterone levels, you get a decrease in the amount of sodium being reabsorbed the kidney collecting ducts, and that results in an increase in the sodium being excreted in the urine. So the sodium is not reabsorbed, so that it escapes, and as a consequence of the sodium, as a consequence of more sodium being excreted, you end up with a decrease in the plasma sodium concentration, and then that results in a reversal of this particular flow chart to get the sodium concentration to a particular set point. So it's a ongoing. It's a little bit like a seesaw, as I sometimes say. So it's a balance point. The homeostatic mechanism is trying to maintain a particular set point for example, glucose and for sodium. So it's working all the time, making these very subtle changes effectively in the levels of ultimately it's the levels of renin, this enzyme renin, which acts on this renin-angiotensin system. Renin cleaves angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1, and then angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2 by angiotensin converting enzymes. And that angiotensin 2 acts on the adrenal cortex, the adrenal gland, sitting on top of the kidney to then either increase or decrease the amount of plasma aldosterone, depending on the levels of aldosterone in the circulation. So it's complex, but you need to know it. And so memorize this scheme so that you when we actually add drugs into modifying the behavior of the kidney, you have a good insight into what's going on. So the last part of the whole thing was to look at antidiuretic hormone and water. Now this is a much more straightforward. Let me just get it now. This one here. So we're looking at water intake and thirst. So I'll just restart it. I'll go to I think I've got physiology and nephrons. Let me just check again. Stop it. I'll go to physiology, nephrons, and where is it now? Nephrons, urine. There's urine. Where is there? Urine. Then physiology, electrolytes, sodium. Physiology, electrolytes. Where are they? Electrolytes, sodium. Very got that many, I think. Physiology, hormones. Physiology, hormones, antidiuretic hormone, the pill. So, and then lifestyle, diet, appetite, thirst. Lifestyle, diet, appetite, thirst. Okay, and then we're going to then restart again. Increase the water intake. Let me just see it. Increase. So I'm going to increase the water intake. So I'm going to fix it. No, intake control by thirst. 2 liters per day. Yep, 2 liters per day. That's what I want. And then I go to 3 days. Day 1. Oh, sorry about that. Day 1. A lot of calculation going on. That's it. Then go again. I'll do it for 3 days. D2. Alrighty. And then I'll increase the water intake to 3 litres per day. Come on. It's always slow when you're just watching it. Okay, then increase it to 3. That's it. And look at some of these graphs we've got. Glucose, insulin, don't care about that. I want water. ADH pool, I want ADH pool. That's the one. Aldosterone pool. Did I do the ADH pool? Did I do ADH pool? This must be, yes, antidiuretic hormone pool. Then we go. So this is the more water then, 3 litres of water per day. Ignore this part here. So again, it's still the same: breakfast, lunch, dinner, sleep, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like I said, we'll ignore this part here because I don't know what's going on with it at all. But remember, this is antidiuretic hormone. Another day. So antidiuretic hormone is normally active when you want to reabsorb water. So it's antidiuresis, anti-peeing effectively. So that's control. You can see the antidiuretic hormone levels have went down. That makes sense because we've got excess water. So we want to get rid of it. So the way we get rid of it is not to reabsorb it. So we reduce the levels of antidiuretic hormone. And then the next one will actually decrease the water intake to 1 litre per day. And let me just go, where is it? 1 litre per day. Yep, 1 litre per day. Let me look at the graphs. Not that one, not that one, not that one. That's water excretion. That's one. Antidiuretic hormone. Now, hopefully, we've got less water. What we'd like to see is an increase in secretion of the antidiuretic hormone so that we can then start to reabsorb more water, because the less water we have in our diet, in order to maintain a water balance, we must then reabsorb more water. And the only way we can reabsorb more water is by increasing the levels of antidiuretic hormone. So antidiuretic hormone is then increasing the permeability of the collecting duct to water by promoting the insertion of aquaporins, and then water can move out of the collecting duct into the interstitial fluid following the osmotic gradient, and then it's picked up by the peritubular capillaries and then taken back into the general circulation again. Another day. So normal water, low water, normal water, high water, and low water. So you can see the difference that what the antidiuretic hormone is doing. So what I'll do is I'll flip to the other graphs where that's working. Where are we? I've lost my place. Oh, there we are up here. Yeah, okay, that's me here. So what affects increasing water intake having blood sodium concentration? So as you increase, this is the kind of the strange thing, is that high water results in loss of sodium, loss of salt, in fact, and that's because you invariably carry salt with the water. And the other thing is that there's a potential for because you're taking lots of water, you have a dilution effect on blood sodium concentration. Next one. What effect does increasing water intake have on blood antidiuretic hormone? So you can see that as you increase your water intake, you get a decrease in the circulation of antidiuretic hormone to promote the excretion of water. And the opposite is true. As you have low water intake, you can increase levels of antidiuretic hormone to help to reabsorb as much water as possible. And what effect does increasing water intake have on water excretion by the kidney? Well, as you can see here, the excretion rate goes up quite markedly as you increase your water intake. Everyone will have experienced that. And as you reduce your water intake, then your amount of water that is excreted, i.e. the volume of urine that you produce, is much less. And the feedback loop, like I said to everyone, the feedback loop is this is the important part of it. So as you increase your water intake, H2O there, you actually get a decrease in the plasma osmolarity, and that is sensed by cells in the hypothalamus in the brain, where they've got osmoreceptors present, and they're actually measuring the amount of sodium in the circulation, and that results in a decrease in antidiuretic hormone secretion by the adrenal pituitary gland, and then that decreases the collecting duct of the kidney to water permeability, and then that results in a decrease in water being reabsorbed by the kidney, and therefore you get more water being excreted in the urine to get rid of the excess water. And there's a negative feedback loop. The decrease in the decrease in water being reabsorbed results in an increase in the plasma osmolarity, because you're losing water, and that corrects for the negative feedback. That's negative feedback loop in place to oppose the changes due to the changes in water. So we've actually looked at three different feedback loops. The water and the sodium feedback loops are kind of intermixed somewhat because water affects sodium, etc. And so in this part here, if there was genuinely if there's more water, there'd be a decrease in the sodium levels in the filtrate, and that would have an effect on the Jox-Glomerullar apparatus as well. But I would not worry too much about that, because really the take-home messages are these feedback loops that govern and regulate glucose, sodium, and water. Just 3 examples of them. Now, that's that part finished, and I'm hoping that. Oh, dear me! What's happened here? Yeah, it's better. And I'm hoping that those of you who managed to get the simulation, just like I said, I'm not really wanting you to know the absolute details of what's going on, just the general trends of what's going on. In terms of numbers, you should know that the fasting glucose concentration is about 4.5 millimolar. I think that's probably the only concentration of any of these nutrients is concerned. That probably the only one we actually would like you to try and remember. But remember the 3 different feedback mechanisms, and try to place them into the context of the kidney. Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay, so that's taking us through the workshop material. I'm hoping that like I said, what we'll do is maybe this is Tuesday, isn't it? Maybe Wednesday or Thursday. Although I think some of you were saying that you might well be heading to CPU on the 17th. Is that right? Are some of you heading to
Yes.
on the 17th? So you'll be packing on the Thursday, won't you? Getting ready to go on the Thursday. So maybe we have the presentations on Monday the 20th, don't we? Is that right? We have the presentations on Monday the 20th. Presentation times. Yep, that's right. Monday the 20th of April. For some of you. So that shouldn't be a problem for you, because I'm thinking that if you're going to go to CPU on the Friday, and you'll be well, let's put it this way, because it's hard for me to visualize what's going to happen in CPU on the 20th of April. But the students who are scheduled to give their presentation to me and Annette on the 20th of April, that's between 10 and 12 UK time. So there's quite a few of you. I'm hoping that you'll be able to do this in your rooms, in CPU, or if some of you are still at home, just do it at home. But make sure you've got your presentations ready, because you've still got a good length of time to have the presentations up and running, and for us to listen to you, even though it's going to be a little bit strange. So So that's all for today, I think. That's all for today. Oh, where are we? There's my video. There's my Zoom. Can't find you. I don't know what's happened to you. Exit, minimize video. That's the one I wanted. That's what I wanted. So that's the workshop. So I think more or less, if I remember rightly, more or less. Oh, okay. Okay. More or less. I think you may have finished with all the lectures for BM 108. I think because that's us done our part. I think the CPU staff have done their part. The only thing we have to think about is BM 110, which is the presentations which we will do next week. We'll have a little practice quiz. Not this week, because I think this week for many of you, you'll be worried about doing the quiz, and you've still got some packing to do and organising your family, various things like that. So we won't do that. We'll leave that until after the presentations. Just a bit of fun. It's just to give you an idea of where you are. And then what I will do is I will let you know I'll find out the CPU, what's happening with the class test for BM 108 when you're on campus. And when you're on campus, you can then let me know what's being taught and how you're being taught and how your availability is going to be. Okay? It's complicated. It's always going to be complicated. But we'll try our best to try and get everyone engaged and to try to make it as stress-free as we possibly can make it. So if you need to ask questions, ask me through WeChat, or we can have a Zoom question and answer session with Anne and myself, just to see if you need anything you don't understand about the PowerPoint. And the last thing is, so this is May. This is May. This is April. Next month is May. So in the month of May, hopefully you should be finishing off your essays. And what I will do is I will run classes with individual students who are having problems understanding their feedback. So once you get back into the halls and once our presentations are finished, we can then do those, because I think that's what we always did in CPU. We ran little sessions, just one-to-one sessions with students, so they can get some better understanding of any problems they're having, understanding the feedback, and also I can also look at the ways in which to correct the common errors that I encounter. That's things like punctuation errors, errors in grammar, and errors in how you use citations. So I can deal with those on a more or less a one-to-one basis, because I think that for some of you, I appreciate that for some of you, your English language comprehension is you're still building upon that, and so it's some of the subtleties associated with writing English. You're still coming to terms with, and so I would like to help you with that, because I think that's really important for your confidence with your English. And hopefully you'll be increasingly more confident with me and Annette, so that when we come to see you in October, and assuming we can come and see you in October, you'll feel more relaxed in our company, and you'll be able to ask us questions and not feel as though your English language is letting you down, you shouldn't worry about that, because my Chinese lets me down every time I open my mouth. Okay? Is that fine for everyone? And I will send you that PowerPoint that I've just used in the next 4 or 5 minutes. So it was nice not hearing from you since you're all so quiet. But thanks very much for listening to me, and hopefully everyone is not feeling too stressed about going back to CPU. I know your parents are feeling a little bit stressed about it, but hopefully CPU will have everything in place so that you have a safe and a welcoming time when you go back to campus. Okay, guys, so I'll end the meeting now, and I'll speak to you later. Bye for now.
Bye.
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 Bye.